It's Morphin time here at Jartoon. Today, we're covering the entire story of Power Rangers Dino Thunder. So strap in and don't forget to like and subscribe. Here we go. Now, the Power Rangers franchise is a big one. So let's cover the basics before jumping in. For those that don't know, Power Rangers first premiered way back in 1993 with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. The immensely popular franchise launched well beyond this initial season though, running for a staggering 29 more seasons, with the latest iteration, Cosmic Fury, premiering 30 years later in 2023 on Netflix. You know the gist from there. Everyday teens are trained to morph into the titular Power Rangers, and they're off to fight evil. In Ranger form, these kids are given an array of powers, as well as control over massive robots called Zords. Oftentimes, these powers and Zords center around an overarching theme for the season. The season we're covering, Dino Thunder, takes the theme of, you guessed it, dinosaurs! So without further ado, let's dive in. The very first episode of Dino Thunder, Day of the Dino Part 1, thrusts us into the 12th iteration of the show. Of course, there's plenty of story and lore to cover from outside the season, and the best place to start is with the legendary veteran ranger Tommy Oliver, who served as the Green Ranger in the very first iteration Mighty Morphin Rangers. Tommy's history as a ranger runs deep, and he will oftentimes just pop back in to aid whenever he's needed. In this opening episode, we get a bit of backstory as the veteran ranger is escaping from some unknown creatures from an island. Tommy barely makes it off the island with his life, as it explodes and sinks into the sea. A number of years later, Dr. Oliver arrives at Reefside High, where he puts his paleontology degree to use as a teacher under the principal Miss Randall. As far as the student body goes, notables include Cassidy Cornell and Devin Del Valle of the Reefside Report. Outside of them, we have our main characters who unfortunately find themselves in detention with Dr. Oliver. First is the uber-athletic soccer star Connor McKnight. What a name. Second is singer-songwriter Kira Ford. Lastly is the high-tech whiz kid Ethan James. However, instead of a standard in-school detention, Tommy takes the kids to a museum, promising to cancel detention if the kids find anything prehistoric. While the kids are off on their hunt, Tommy begins investigating the museum and discovered it's operated by Anton Mercer.
Anton Mercer? That's impossible.
A colleague of Tommy's that he believed to be dead. Keep that in mind. As his investigation continues, Tommy is confronted by a robotic Tyrannosaurus Rex that chases him down the highway, only ending after the creature barrels into an overpass, destroying itself. The students also seem to have found themselves in some trouble after falling into a sinkhole. Inside, they find a cave system housing some sort of secret underground laboratory. Here, the kids find 3 glowing gems. Dino Gem. Unbeknownst to them, these gems contain the powers associated with the Dino Thunder Rangers, and in collecting them, they have begun fusing with these powers. Just in time too, because as soon as our heroes make their escape, they're attacked by the same creatures that attacked Tommy at the beginning of the episode.
New plan. Run!
With the gems in tow, Ethan gains incredibly resilient flesh, Kira gains an ultrasonic screech, and Connor gains super speed. With their newfound powers, they're able to defeat the onslaught of creatures and escape from the woods. Back at school, Kira elects to give up her stone, not wishing to have any part of whatever madness they've stumbled into. However, minutes later, she's abducted through a portal by those creatures. Ethan and Connor race over to Dr. Oliver's house for help, where they find yet another secret laboratory and Dr. Oliver. What will happen to Kira? Will she accept her powers? Guess we have to wait until the next episode to find out. Speaking of the next episode, Day of the Dino Part 2 obviously continues from the previous, and it provides some key answers to the mystery of who these assailants are. While the boys seek out the assistance of Dr. Oliver, who seems to know more than he's letting on, Kira fights off the ever-familiar Elsa and the daunting Zeltrax. Get used to seeing them. En route to save Kira, Tommy drops some serious knowledge about the origins of the creatures they've been attacking. They're called Tyrannosaurs, and they were actually created by Tommy and his old colleague that mysteriously disappeared, Anton Mercer, during their research into combining dinosaur DNA with robots. Great work, Tommy. That doesn't sound like it could go wrong at all.
I mean, she's not just gonna fall out of the sky and land right in front of us. Huh?
Introducing the big bad of the show, Mesagog, a dinosaur-esque creature that is now leading the Tyrannosaurs, Elsa and Zeltrax. Mesagog is the reason for the destruction of the island at the beginning of the episode, and is on an unyielding search for the Dino Gems. Following Kira's escape, Zeltrax makes an appearance to attack Tommy and the other students in an effort to retrieve the stones. However, the power of the Dino Gem stops them in their tracks, forcing them to retreat back to their base. The next day, Mesagog orders a full-scale attack on the city through the use of the Biozords, massive robotic dinosaurs.
They won't know what's hit them until it's too late.
While everyone flees for safety, Tommy takes Connor, Kira, and Ethan to the lab to debrief them on the situation. And by debrief, I mean Tommy finally offers morphers to the students, giving them the ability to become fully fledged Power Rangers.
I gotta sit down.
Alright, now we're talking. Though they are initially apprehensive, everyone agrees to take the morphers and tame the Biozords attacking the city. With their new suits and weapons, the Power Rangers make quick work of the Tyranno drones, and through their combined powers, use the Zeltrax blaster to take down Zeltrax. However, their work is only half done. The Biozords are still attacking the city, and Mesagog's ship is still flying overhead. Through the use of their morphers, each Ranger is able to tame one of the Zords, forming them into the Thundersaurus Megazord, a combination of the Tyrannosaur, the Tricerazord, and the Pterazord. With the massive robot under their control, the Rangers are able to take down Mesagog's ship and save the day. Episode 3, Wave Goodbye, sees our new crew of Power Rangers begin to settle into their new roles as protectors of humanity, with one of them finding it difficult to balance their regular life with their new superhero one. The episode opens with Ethan introducing his new comrades to his favorite hangout, Haley's cyberspace.
It's kind of cool in a techno, retro, dorky sort of way.
A local cyber cafe run by one Haley Zictor. The cafe becomes the Rangers' pseudo-base of operations, but definitely their primary hangout, and is even a place where Kira is able to show off her musical capabilities on stage.
Can't stop thinking about you, baby.
Of course, being a Power Ranger is a full-time gig, so before too long, Ethan is summoned by Dr. Oliver to examine some Dinozord eggs in a forest. However, before they can leave with the artifacts, they're once again attacked by some Tyranno drones. Those pesky things just can't lose enough, can they? It seems that they actually have the upper hand this time. Ethan calls for Kira and Connor's aid on his communication bracelet. Kira arrives promptly, but Connor's a little hesitant. The thing about Connor is that he's always had the dream of being a legendary soccer player, and with skills like his, who could blame him? So you can imagine his distress when he has to abandon his tryout for Ranger business. Nonetheless, he does, scoring a DNF at his tryout and failing.
Where's he going? Where are you going?
I'm sorry. I'll get back as soon as I can.
However, with the 3 Power Rangers together, they quickly dispatch the Tyranno drones and their leaders. Back at Haley's cyberspace, Ethan and Kira think over what Tommy's hatching when the new kid in town, Trent, walks up and introduces himself. And don't tell anyone, but it looks like Kira might have a little bit of a crush on this guy. Mesagog isn't taking the loss of the dinosaur eggs lying down. He ushers in the creation of a new monster, Birdbrain, with his Geno-randomizer. The mutation wreaks havoc across the whole of Reefside, and the Rangers are quickly on scene to take on the monster. Birdbrain is a speedy one, and is able to escape the Rangers because of it. However, the team is able to catch up thanks to the hatched Dinozords known as the Raptor Riders.
They're great!
Go Raptor Riders!
After defeating Birdbrain at the ground level, Mesagog initiates the Hydro Regenerator, causing Birdbrain to go to Zilla-like sizes. The Rangers summon their Megazord and are able to quickly dispatch the massive mutation. And ultimately, Connor decides being a Ranger is the right thing to do after saving a little girl from Birdbrain's chaos. Another day, another city saved by the Rangers. But as Tommy heads to Haley's cyberspace to celebrate, he's abducted by Zeltrax and the Tyranno drones. A debacle that is saved until the next episode. Our next episode, Legacy of Power, is only the 4th episode of Dino Thunder, but the 500th, yes, 500th episode of Power Rangers as a whole. In this episode, Tommy's been trapped in Mesagog's ship, where the evil dinosaur is trying to extract information to release the power of another Dino Gem. The Rangers on the ground search through Tommy's archive to find some sort of answer as to where he is and how to help him. Instead, they find Tommy's stories as a Ranger himself. Tommy's history as a Power Ranger has remained a secret to Connor, Kira, and Ethan up until this point, so they are understandably surprised by the revelation upon opening his video diary.
Teacher is the oldest living Power Ranger.
Now, Tommy was part of the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fighting Rita Repulsa. Over the years, he has resurfaced, passed the mantle, and resurfaced again many times, and each of these stories are told through these video diaries. And in another surprise twist for the Dino Thunder Rangers, Haley knows it all. While Tommy was in grad school in the years thereafter, Haley has been key in helping Tommy develop the technology for the Dino Thunder Rangers, so she knows all about the secret lab and about Tommy's disappearance.
Know where Dr. Oliver is? I think I have a pretty good idea.
Haley and the Rangers search through the archives, learning all about the history of the old Power Rangers while trying to hack into Mesogog's invisiportal technology. Essentially, Mesogog has invisible portals scattered all across Reefside that allows him and his army to teleport around unseen. Their efforts prove fruitless until Connor accidentally kicks the computer, sending a jolt of energy that gives Haley the power she needs to get into Mesogog's network. Alongside this, Tommy left a message saying that should anything happen to him, Connor, Kira, and Ethan are the only line of defense against evil in the world. But these three Rangers aren't just going to let Tommy go, and so the episode ends with them finding a way into a portal to save him. Our next episode, Back in Black, sees the Rangers save Tommy from Mesogog's fortress. The show opens with Connor, Kira, and Ethan racing away from their base on their shiny new Raptor cycles. However, as soon as they arrive at the coordinates to the invisiportal, Elsa, Zeltrax, and their goons ambush them. You know, sometimes I say these sentences out loud and realize how insane I sound. Anyway, the Rangers' new cycles back a serious bunch, defeating the onslaught of Tyranno drones with ease, and allowing them to speed through the portal. They arrive in Mesogog's island fortress and are able to free Tommy from his shackles. The four of them again fight their way past Mesogog's grunts and escape through another invisiportal back to Reefside with the Black Dino Gem in tow. Of course, Mesogog isn't one to let something so valuable slip through his fingers, so Elsa, Zeltrax, and even more Tyranno drones are hot on their tail. Meeting them once again in the city, Zeltrax fires a beam from his staff, seemingly destroying Tommy in the process. However, all is not as it seems, as Tommy appears out of thin air with the Black Dino Gem free from its encasing. With the Black Dino Gem, Tommy is given the power of invisibility.
You missed me, didn't you, Zeltrax?
And the Brachiomorpher. That's right, Tommy Oliver is back and better than ever as the Black Ranger. A massive battle ensues between the two sides, with Tommy taking on Zeltrax, Connor fighting Elsa and Kira, and Ethan taking on the Pollinator. The Rangers end up running off Zeltrax and Elsa, while Mesogog initiates the Hydro Regenerator, causing the Pollinator to grow to a massive size. Tommy calls on Haley for help, and she reveals a new Zord, the Brachiozord, a massive robot Brachiosaurus that houses the other Zords in its casing. However, this time around, the usual Megazord has some trouble taking down the Pollinator, so they call in for further reinforcements. The Cephalozord. It attaches itself to the Megazord and takes out the Pollinator with a flurry of hard-hitting jabs. The new crew of Rangers reunite at Haley Cyberspace, where Tommy announces he needs to update his wardrobe to fit the Black Ranger for the adventures yet to come. Wow, those first 5 episodes were absolutely filled with information and introductions. That's because it's known as the 5-episode beginning arc, essentially an introduction to new Rangers, new villains, new grunts, new weapons, new Zords, new everything to prepare us for the rest of the season to come. Don't worry, there are plenty of twists and turns to come as the season continues, but getting to know all those new things is essential. Hey, speaking of twists, episode 6, Diva in Distress, has a pretty big one. Remember Anton Mercer, Tommy's old colleague that aided in the creation of the Dino Zords, and how he mysteriously disappeared following the destruction of the island with all their research? Presumed dead? Ring a bell? Well, turns out he's alive, and he's in Reefside.
Anton Mercer. I can't believe it.
And he's Trent's father. Anton Mercer arrives to speak with his son at Haley Cyberspace, seemingly completely unbothered by Tommy's appearance. I don't know, something seems kinda off about this guy. I'm sure we'll hear from him again soon. Anyway, outside of this, Mesogog is up to his usual antics, creating monsters, wreaking havoc. You know, this time around, the Geno Randomizer creates Donkeyvac, a mutant that sucks the youth from people, including world-famous pop star and former bandmate of Kira, Kylie Styles.
Of course I do! I'm a big fan!
Connor, Ethan, and Tommy are quickly on the scene to stop the mutant villain, while Kira stays behind at Haley's to console her old friend Kylie. Soon enough, Zeltrax portals onto the scene to fight his sworn enemy, Tommy Oliver. Zeltrax cites that there's some sort of score that needs to be settled between the two, one that Tommy has no idea about. Wonder what that's about. Donkeyvac and the boys continue to fight it out, and Kira jumps into the fight just in the nick of time to provide them with the edge that they need to take him down. Of course, this isn't the end of Donkey Vac. Mesagog initiates his, and say it with me, Hydro Regenerator.
Activate the Hydro Regenerator.
Donkey Vac grows above the buildings. The Rangers, however, are able to quickly dispatch the mutant with the Megazord, restoring youth to everyone in the city. Just another day in the life of the Power Rangers. Our next episode, Golden Boy, sees Anton Mercer try and garner some favor from his son Trent. And sticking with the fatherhood theme, Zeltrax inadvertently creates a child of his own. Following another day of failure, Zeltrax finds himself desperate for a victory. And so, after making some modifications to the Geno randomizer, places himself inside in hopes of upgrading himself. However, instead of upgrading himself, the Geno randomizer provides another entity altogether.
Same. But I feel alive.
Goldenrod, who considers Zeltrax to be his father. Goldenrod's first order of business: take out the greatest living Power Ranger, Tommy Oliver. Talk about high expectations. Goldenrod attacks Tommy and Trent on their way back to the Mercer family home. Trent isn't properly trained as a ranger, but puts up a good fight as he can. Although Goldenrod proves a capable foe, he's quickly defeated when the rest of the Rangers arrive on scene.
Trent? Are you alright?
What? Hey, how do you know my name?
Now, as far as Anton goes, he absolutely hates the sort of job that his adopted son Trent has taken on at Haley's cyberspace.
I don't mean this to sound elitist, but don't you think a managerial position would suit you better?
So to remedy the situation, he finds the best course of action is to buy the rights to the building. Trent, of course, is not a fan of this idea. He likes the cyber cafe, and he knows all his friends do too. Anton, however, doesn't listen and goes through with the purchase anyway. Tommy, as well, is not a fan of this, so he, Ethan, and Trent decide to make for City Hall to dispute the purchase. Before even making it up the steps, however, Zeltrax and Goldenrod ambush them. Connor and Kira show up soon after, and an all-out battle commences in front of City Hall.
We heard you guys were here to fight City Hall.
They must have meant fight in front of it?
Zeltrax and Tommy duke it out as usual, with Tommy continuing to express confusion about whatever vendetta Zeltrax has against him. Before anything can be explained, Goldenrod grows to gargantuan proportions, attacking the city. The Rangers fuse into their Megazord, but Goldenrod is too strong for them. Tommy then utilizes the full capabilities of his Brachio staff, calling a massive windstorm, creating an earthquake, and finally defeating him with a wave of fire. With Goldenrod's defeat, Zeltrax once more vows vengeance against Tommy. The day is saved, and so is Haley's cyberspace. But just before the episode comes to a close, Trent makes a tremendous discovery. Inside his father's office, he finds an invisiportal? Yes, an invisiportal. But what's it doing in Anton Mercer's office? Perhaps there's even more to this guy than we anticipated. Stay tuned. Alright, everybody strap in for the next episode, White Thunder Part 1, as it kicks off an epic three-parter arc that introduces a powerful new foe to the Power Rangers. In this first part, Elsa has been working on a project for Mesagog, one that could very well tip the scales in their favor. In the Petrified Forest, Elsa unleashes an energy force so powerful that Tommy's surveillance system catches on.
Who's that?
Tommy and the Rangers arrive at the site of the explosion to learn that the mysterious energy was in fact another Dino gem, and it's one they do not possess, so a potential threat to the world. Meanwhile, at the Mercer household, Trent confronts his father about his recent actions to get him away from Haley's. The conversation doesn't go very well, with Anton insisting that his actions are for the best. Of course, Trent disagrees, and the two part ways, no closer to an agreement. However, as Trent leaves, he catches a glimpse of what we've all been wondering about after the last episode. Anton Mercer steps into an invisiportal that opens in his office. Curious, just as we are, Trent decides to step into the portal himself.
What's going on around here?
Arriving in Mesagog's fortress. Inside, he discovers just what it was that Elsa was working on, a white Dino gem. As he approaches, the gem hums and vibrates, latching onto Trent as he becomes the White Ranger. It's worth bearing in mind this White Ranger is not Trent himself, but instead a different, evil entity that overtakes him. Angry at the loss of their artifact, Elsa and Zeltrax set up a trap to retrieve their Dino gem in hopes of avoiding the wrath of Mesagog. The trap works exquisitely. Their new monster attracts the White Ranger, but also the rest of the Power Rangers. Single-handedly, the White Ranger destroys the mutant and subdues the Power Rangers, letting them go with a warning to stay out of his way. The following episode, White Thunder Part 2, directly continues the story of Trent as the White Ranger. In this episode, the Power Rangers do what they can to prevent the White Ranger from obtaining his own Zord eggs. Unfortunately, with the emergence of 2 Zord eggs, the Rangers must split up their forces to retrieve them. Kira and Connor have the misfortune of finding the White Ranger himself preparing his own Zord egg in an abandoned warehouse.
You want to try talking to him?
How about we just morph, kick his butt, and take his egg?
They do what they can to stop him, but the White Ranger is simply too strong. Around the same time, Mesagog has decided that if he cannot have the Dino Gem itself, he must destroy it to siphon its power. To do this, he instructs the creation of a new mutant, Angor, an anchor-themed monster? Well, points for creativity, I guess.
Mighty Angor.
I'm ready!
While Kira and Connor retreat from the White Ranger, Ethan and Tommy are searching for the second Zord egg on the docks, rampaging around the mechanical Parasaur Zord. Tommy is able to tame the wild robotic creature, adding it to their ever-growing collection of Dino Zords. Connor and Kira catch up, and with Ethan, they form up in their Megazord to fight Angor. On the ground level, Tommy takes off to face the White Ranger to stop him from hatching his own Dino Zord, but he's sidetracked by Zeltrax. Tommy subdues Zeltrax after a long-fought battle, and the Rangers stop Angor in his tracks thanks to the addition of the Parasaur Zord's cutting capabilities. Unfortunately, though, it seems too much time has been given to the White Ranger. Just as Tommy arrives to confront him, the egg hatches, forming into the massive Drago Zord, a pterodactyl-esque Zord. With his very own Zord, there's no telling what kind of havoc the White Ranger can unleash now. Our next episode, White Thunder Part 3, is the final stop on the introduction of the White Ranger. In this episode, the Rangers do what they can to figure out who the White Ranger is and how to potentially stop him and his new weapons. Things start off very rocky, however. With the new Zord under his control, the White Ranger faces off against the Thunder Source Megazord. To offer an assist, Tommy calls upon the Stego Zord to link up with
Stegazord! Activate!
them. However, the White Ranger's influence is too strong, and the Stegozord instead morphs with the Stegozord to form into a completely new Megazord. The two behemoths battle it out, but once again, the White Ranger proves too powerful for our heroes, and their Dinozords are not completely out of commission. All's not lost though. Tommy is able to wrangle control back over the Stegozord for the time being, and the group retreats again. Now, the introduction of the White Ranger has certainly taken the Rangers by storm, but it has also shocked the civilians, including Cassidy and Devin. We haven't spoken about them much, but Cassidy and Devin primarily serve as the comic relief throughout the show.
Do you want a drink or something? Yes, an extra tall soy latte, and don't skimp on the phone.
With Cassidy's primary goal to find some juicy story for the Reefside High's newspaper. Throughout the entirety of the White Thunder arc, Cassidy has been seeking to discover the identity of one of the Rangers, so that she might be hired onto a real broadcasting network. The fabled White Ranger has slipped between their fingers throughout the entirety of the last 2 episodes. However, in a stroke of luck, Devin is able to get the White Ranger's transformation back into Trent on camera. Only he doesn't realize it because he knocks himself out on a nearby pipe. Hey, you might not be graceful, but he gets the job done, even if he doesn't realize it. Speaking of Trent, he seems to be worse for wear. You see, Trent himself isn't really conscious during his transformations into the White Ranger. He's completely overtaken. However, his body does feel the after effects, and his mind is completely jumbled with sporadic visions of what happens as the Ranger. This less than healthy state has his friends worried about him. A concerned Connor follows Trent to make sure he's okay, but instead of finding Trent, he's ambushed by the White Ranger. The Ranger once more proves too much for Connor, but with frustration building, Connor is able to tap into a much stronger version of himself. Spikes emerge from his suit, and he's able to take down the White Ranger for the very first time. The White Ranger manages to gain the upper hand again, after pretending to be completely defeated.
Congratulations. Looks like you won't have to worry about the White Ranger anymore.
Just when the White Ranger is looking to completely end Connor, Mesagog and Zeltrax interrupt and attempt to sway the White Ranger to fight for him. Of course, he refuses, choosing to instead fight for himself. In response to his rejection, Mesagog instructs Angor to capture the White Ranger. However, with the Stegozord now back under his control, the Ranger is able to escape from Mesagog's clutches. The Power Rangers return to the lab to lick their wounds,
Whoever he is, he could definitely use an anger management course.
while Tommy returns to the warehouse to retrieve his fossil finder. Here he finds his device, only it's rigged up to a larger contraption. Before he can figure out what it is, Trent appears and loses control in front of Tommy, morphing into the Ranger before his very eyes. But before Tommy can relay this information, the White Ranger fossilizes him, keeping his actual identity a secret for now. With the White Ranger introduced, let's jump into the next episode, Truth and Consequences. In this episode, the two entities within the White Ranger, Trent and the White Ranger, begin merging. While Haley looks for a way to defossilize Tommy, Trent is feeling some serious after effects from his sudden and constant transformations. He's flooded with visions, only this time he's able to make sense of them, and he realizes these are spurts of memories of what he's been doing as the Ranger. Disgusted and confused, Trent heads to the cyberspace to put in his resignation while he tries to work things out. Mesagog and his goons continue their search for the White Ranger and spot him wandering out in the open.
He's right there in the open.
Elsa and Zeltrax show up, but of course are no match for the legendary fighter, fleeing as the other Rangers show up. In their fight, Kira unleashes her Super Dino mode, the same way that Connor did in the previous episode. She gains wings and takes the White Ranger for a ride. However, she's quickly taken out and demorphs back into her normal Kira form. The White Ranger rushes over to finish her off, but upon realizing it's Kira, he's flooded with memories of her from Trent. Looks like the crush that Kira has on Trent is reciprocated. And saved her life. With the White Ranger stunned, Connor and Ethan activate their super mode and defeat him for the time being. Following their bout, Trent and Kira meet up at a nearby pond, where Trent spills the truth to her. She's in disbelief, but wants to help. Before she can, though, Trent is captured by Mesagog. He's imprisoned in his fortress, but before he can be swayed to the side of evil, he transforms back into the White Ranger and escapes. An important thing to take away here is that the White Dino Gem is corrupting Trent. Slowly, the evil nature of the White Ranger is infecting Trent himself. With Trent's disappearance, Connor and Ethan refuse to believe that he's actually on their side. Upon discovering the White Ranger, they meet up to fight their Megazords and hopefully end the White Ranger once and for all. With the help of their new Ankylosaur, Connor, Kira, and Ethan defeat the White Ranger, sending him packing. And I mean that literally. Following his defeat, Trent decides he's too dangerous to be left in the city, and so he gathers his things and leaves for now. In our next episode, Leader of the Whack, a meteor with mysterious powers strikes in Reefside. Trent, the Power Rangers, and some more of Mesagog's goons go to investigate. Of course, with this combination of characters, a battle ensues, during which some mysterious beams emit from the meteor, causing dramatic changes in everyone's personalities. Trent, or the White Ranger that lives inside him, joins the good side. Rojobot, a wimpy creation of Mesagog, becomes uncharacteristically aggressive. And the Rangers have all their personalities switched up. After some quirkiness that follows having a complete change in personality, the Rangers defeat an aggressive Rojobot with some help from Trent. Knowing that the meteor is the cause of these strange circumstances, the Rangers return to the crash site and destroy it, returning everyone to normal. They bring a piece of it back to the lab though, and Haley finds a way to use it to defossilize Tommy. Looks like the day is saved, right? Well yeah, there's just one small hiccup. Tommy is unable to morph back into his normal form.
Power down! Huh?
Hey, perpetually morphed into a super version of yourself? That doesn't sound so bad. I wonder how this will play out moving forward. In our next episode, Burning at Both Ends, we see that Trent has completely fallen for the side of evil. Though not in service to Mesagog, Trent agrees to help Mesagog in one of his plans to destroy the Rangers. The episode opens with Trent and the Rangers battling Megazords. The battle comes to a sudden conclusion when Trent traps two of the Rangers' auxiliary Zords, the Cephalozord and the Dimetrozord. Following this bout, Trent tricks the Rangers into thinking that the White Gem has lost control over his mind and that he's back to normal old Trent, when in reality, Trent is in fact working with Mesagog to lure the Rangers into a trap.
On me.
The Rangers show up to meet Trent in an abandoned warehouse under the impression that he is some sort of peace offering for them. The offering in question, the Dino ATVS. This, of course, is the trap that Trent laid for Mesagog, and within moments, Insectolite and some Tyranno drones ambush the Rangers. The trap doesn't go exactly according to plan. Insectolite and the Tyranno drones are defeated, but in the process they manage to destroy the Rangers' Raptor cycles and the Rangers' energy shields. I guess that's some form of victory, right? Later that night, the Rangers race to free their Zords, but without their Raptor cycles, they show up too late. Trent blows up the energy field they're housed in, but instead of destroying the Zords, he reveals that he's reprogrammed them to his side. The Rangers and Trent fight it out, and just when Trent seems to have gotten the upper hand, Insectolite interferes, inadvertently saving the Rangers and forcing Trent to defeat. The episode then ends with a major twist. In his fortress, Mesagog reprimands Zeltrax and Elsa for their continued failure. As they depart, a green aura overcomes the evil leader, and he transforms right in front of an invisible Trent into Anton Mercer. Bum, bum, bah! For our next episode, Bully for Ethan, we finally get some answers to the Zeltrax and Tommy Oliver rivalry. Zeltrax's hatred towards Tommy seems to run incredibly deep. So deep, he may even be willing to betray his master, Mesagog. And that's exactly what it is that Trent offers. If Zeltrax helps him betray Mesagog, he will offer Tommy up on a platter. To achieve this goal, Termitetron is created.
Very real. Termitetron can destroy whole cities in a matter of moments.
During the usual battle, which notably sees Tommy morph his Brachiostaff into the Zeltrax blaster for the first time, Termitetron is defeated. Immediately following this, the mutation grows to an incredible size. Connor, Kira, and Ethan morph into their Megazord, leaving Tommy more vulnerable on the ground level for Zeltrax. In this battle, Zeltrax finally reveals why he has labeled Tommy as his sworn enemy. Zeltrax reveals that his real name is Terrence Smith, an old colleague of Tommy's from back in the day. The two of them were both potential candidates for a job under Anton Mercer that ultimately went to Tommy. This left Terrence to work for a different company on more dangerous projects. One of these projects went horrifically wrong, leaving Terrence nearly dead. However, Mesagog came around and offered him a second chance thanks to his vast knowledge of cybernetics. And so, Terrence, aka Zeltrax, is zealously loyal to Mesagog.
What it is you have against me?
Does the name Terrence Smith mean anything to you?
Fiercely vengeful against Tommy. Though he tries to talk Zeltrax down, Tommy is forced instead to fight Zeltrax. Ultimately, Tommy wins, sending the cyborg packing. As far as betraying Mesagog goes, Zeltrax would never. He used Trent's offer to get to Tommy as he wanted, but only after filling Mesagog in on the plan. Zeltrax remains loyal to Mesagog, and Trent is given an ultimatum: be loyal to Mesagog, or perish. For Trent, it seems his double-crossing days are over, and he swears his loyalty to Mesagog. This next episode, Copy That, is probably one of the most important in the series, as it marks a drastic turning point for the entire show. However, before getting to that, let's take a second and sit with Anton as he explains how he and Mesagog came to be. You see, in a similar sense to how the White Ranger is an evil force that has corrupted Trent, Mesagog is an evil force that takes over Anton. Mercer himself is not evil. Mesagog is. They came to be one following a series of dangerous experiments that Mercer didn't realize would prove so disastrous.
Of mankind, but it was experimental.
And so, with this in mind, you can imagine Anton's disappointment in what has become of Trent, and he tries to talk him down. Of course, to no avail, as the White Gem has taken full control over him. Now, outside of that, the turning point of this episode begins with the intense power struggle between Zeltrax and Trent. The two have been vying for prominent leadership roles under Mesagog, and as of late, the White Ranger has proven more adept, therefore more respected in Mesagog's eyes. Zeltrax isn't having any of it, and so he uses the Geno Randomizer to create the Copy Otter, a mutation that can create a copy of anything it sees. Zeltrax uses this creation to make a copy of the White Ranger's Drago sword, which he then uses to trash Mesagog's lab and pin the blame on Trent. This is considered an act of betrayal by Mesagog, and so he keeps his word to end the White Ranger for it. Strapped in the chair with the Life Force extractor, Trent calls out for his father, Anton, causing Mesagog to morph back to his Mercer form.
Dad, don't please.
In his good guy human form, Anton saves his son, and in the process of doing so, the Life Force extractor destroys the evil within the White Dino Gem. Wait, so does this mean that the White Ranger is a good guy now? Yeah, it does. With Trent in full control of his powers, he redeems himself by helping the Rangers destroy the Copy Otter that they've been fighting all day. With Trent back on the side of humanity, surely Mesagog doesn't stand a chance. However, Zeltrax seemed to use the Copy Otter for one last task, and the episode closes on a White Ranger clone, one that has nothing to do with Trent. This should prove interesting. This next episode, Triassic Triumph, sees destinies fulfilled as the Rangers fight the evil White Ranger clone. With the introduction of the White Ranger clone also comes the introduction of the White Pterosaurus, an evil amalgamation of power created from the White Ranger. With Zeltrax, these new creations face off against the Ranger outside of Haley's cyberspace, but are ran off when Trent and Tommy blast them away with their Dino ATVs. The Pterosaurus reemerges in the woods outside of town as a massive Zord, luring the Rangers into a trap. Just as the White Ranger initially proved a capable foe, so does the Pterosaurus. It overcomes Connor, Kira, and Ethan, defeating them and trapping their Zords as well. Meanwhile, Tommy and Trent are on a mission to retrieve an ancient artifact, With powers specific to Trent and Tommy, the two of them unleash a mystical power from behind a waterfall. This intense power calls out to Connor, and he soon arrives at the waterfall to help. From the powers emerges the Shield of Triumph, a powerful artifact that completely tunes into the mystical dino energies when all Rangers contribute a part of themselves to it. All 5 Rangers pour a piece of themselves into the shield, and Connor morphs into the Triassic Ranger.
Triassic power! Engage!
The most powerful form of all the Dino Rangers. With this newfound power, Connor takes the Pterosaurus into an alternate dimension where he easily disposes of his foe. With Connor's destiny to become the Triassic Ranger completed, perhaps the Rangers will have the edge they need to finally take down Mesogog for good. For our next episode, A Star is Torn, Connor gains access to another Triassic Ranger weapon. Zeltrax launches an all-out aerial assault on the city, and the Rangers answer the call as soon as they get the call. However, Zeltrax's Terra assault vehicle proves too fierce for the Ranger's standard Zords. Connor transforms into the Triassic Ranger and awakens the Mezzodon Mega Rover, a dinosaur-esque chariot Megazord.
Full power!
Connor morphs into the Megazord and takes out the Terra assault vehicle. Meanwhile, on the aerial assault vehicle, Tommy and Zeltrax fight it out once again. Tommy does what he can to remind Zeltrax of his lost humanity and of their time together as friends. Consumed by rage and vengeance, Zeltrax refuses to accept what Tommy tells him. The battle destroys the controls of the vehicle, and the Rangers watch on as the ship plummets from the sky. Tommy escapes from the explosion just in the nick of time. Zeltrax, however, was not so lucky, and is perhaps once and for all defeated. Moving forward to our next episode, Fighting Spirit, Tommy must face his past lives as a Ranger, while Connor, Kira, and Ethan face down a once-defeated foe. Throughout the last few episodes, Tommy has been stuck inside of his Ranger suit, unable to power down. Haley has found a way to allow him to demorph, but in the process created a new problem. Tommy is perpetually invisible. Haley, as resourceful as ever, manages to find yet another solution and makes Tommy visible again through the use of the Dino Gem. However, the power of the gem sends Tommy into a coma. And to make things worse for our heroes, Elsa and the White Ranger have found a way to once again replicate the Pterosaurus. This version of the Pterosaurus is more fearsome than the last. Their battle proves intense, and it culminates in not only the Rangers' defeat, but in the total loss of their powers.
Ready! White Ranger, Dino Thunder! Power up! Huh?
Power Rangers without their powers? Well, that's just Rangers. While the Rangers have been busy fighting, Tommy has been traversing a sort of dreamlike scenario in which he must face off against his old Ranger versions. Firstly, he faces off against the Red Zeo Ranger. Then he's confronted by the mighty Morphin White Ranger, and lastly he faces off against his greatest old foe, himself, as the mighty Morphin Green Ranger. After defeating his past selves, he's given his powers back and rejoins his comrades in the fight against the Pterosaurus. With a newly discovered Super Dino mode for the Black Ranger, Tommy is able to defeat the Pterosaurus, and all the powers are restored to the Rangers. For our next episode, Passion of Connor, our heroic Red Ranger continues on his path to finding his true dino power. Before diving into that, however, the big bad Zeltrax has reemerged. Bigger, stronger, and badder than ever. Turns out he survived the explosion on the aerial assault vehicle, and his thirst for revenge has only grown stronger. The first step in his plan of vengeance is to obtain the Serum of Life. But where in the world could he retrieve something that sounds so legendary, so mythical, so powerful? Surely he must go on an epic journey that will see him find parts of himself that he didn't know existed as he battles countless monsters, right? Nah, it's inside of a tree at Reefside High. Harvesting the sap proves immensely easy for Zeltrax, providing him with power he's never felt before. And to keep the power close, he transforms the tree into the daunting mutation Deadwood.
I am at your command!
Deadwood, Zeltrax, Elsa, and the White Ranger clone all face off against the Power Rangers later on in the day. With such insurmountable odds, Tommy calls on Connor to summon the most powerful Zord possible, the Tricermax Megazord, a combination of Connor's Mezzodon, Megazord, and all of the auxiliary Zords. With all the dinos combined, Connor forms into a massive battle-ready bot, ready to fight alongside Ethan and Connor. The 4 behemoths all duke it out, but with Connor's newfound Zord power, Deadwood and the White Ranger clone don't stand a chance, and are quickly defeated. Zeltrax returns to the side of the tree to obtain more of the Serum of Life, and while there, he takes Connor's love interest, Krista, hostage. Connor chases Zeltrax to a nearby cliff face. With someone Connor cares about in grave danger, he's able to tap into a deeper level of power than ever before. Cue the Battleizer, the The Battleizer is a special enhanced armored form that makes appearances all throughout the Power Rangers franchise, which is generally reserved for the Red Ranger and is usually their final and most powerful form. In his most powerful form, Connor is able to take down Super Zeltrax and save Krista. In our next episode, Strange Relations, the rivalry between the two White Rangers comes to a head. With two Rangers of the same identity, unforeseen fluctuations have arisen in the clone. An imbalance in what is known as the Ranger morphing grid means that only one can exist at any given time. With constant fluctuations in the White Ranger clone, his capability in battle falters. With another defeat at the hands of the Power Rangers, he realizes there's only one course of action that will both weaken the Rangers and empower him: destroy Trent. The White Ranger clone confronts Trent, and the two face off in a duel to the death.
Feel it too, can't you? Only one of us will survive.
The battle proves fierce, and with the Ranger clone activating his Super Dino mode, Trent must overcome nearly insurmountable odds. But if there's one thing we know about the Rangers, it's that they can overcome any obstacle. In the end, the White Ranger clone is bested by White Ranger Trent, and the clone is eradicated for good. Our next episode, House of Cards, kicks off the epic 4-part event known as the Endgame Arc, wherein we get the conclusion of the Power Rangers' war against Mesogog. To kick things off, Elsa's quote-unquote secret identity as Principal Randall is discovered by Tommy. Now, this all came to be because Principal Randall confiscated a rare playing card, the Ruby Dragon, from Ethan. In all reality, Elsa plans on using this card as a piece for the Geno Randomizer to create a powerful monster to fight the Rangers. The Rangers are able to overcome the powerful entity, but in the heat of battle, Elsa brings up a big secret that Trent is keeping from his partners. The secret in question, of course, being that Trent's father is the big bad Mesogog. And this secret doesn't last for much longer. At the school, Anton shows up to speak with Trent and inadvertently drops the Ruby Dragon card, tipping off the Rangers that something is off with him. They chase him down the halls, and before Anton can escape, he transforms into Mesogog, revealing the true identity of the creature they've been fighting this whole time. Things are really heating up as we approach the end, and with all the secrets uncovered, it's only a matter of time before everything comes to its epic conclusion. In our next episode, A Test of Trust, Trent's loyalty is placed into question again, and his role as the White Ranger is hanging on by a thread. However, before diving into that, the episode opens with an absolute bang. Back on Mesogog's island, the dinosaur tyrant has grown tired of the weakness that lives within him, Anton Mercer. Mesogog brews and drinks a potion that separates the entities completely. Back with the Rangers, things have gotten a little heated following the reveal that Trent has been keeping some serious information from them.
Don't tell me you feel bad for Trent.
Yeah, I mean, you want someone you can't trust running around with those powers?
With the potential for Trent to lose his morpher and be excommunicated as a Ranger, Connor, Kira, and Ethan think back on how much they've grown as Rangers and how the role has greatly affected their lives. Perhaps affected the most, however, is Trent, who unwittingly harnessed the power of the White Dino Gem and was forced to work for the side of evil. He reminds the Rangers that it was in fact Mercer who had brought him back to the side of good. Without Anton Mercer, Trent, for one, wouldn't have family, and two, would still be working for Mesogog. He had to keep Anton's secret. Before long, Mesogog attacks again, and though the Rangers are unsure about Trent's allegiance, they allow him to join them again. Together, the Rangers defeat the ugly monster, and Trent swears that defeating Mesogog is the only way forward for him. Should Mesogog win, he loses his father forever. Should they defeat him, there may still be a chance. Our next episode, Thunderstruck Part 1, kicks off the epic finale to Dino Thunder. In this episode, Mesogog is nearly ready to launch his assault on the human race, returning the Earth to the age of dinosaurs. Trent watches on as Mesogog readies himself. Firstly, he prepares the cannon, steals Elsa's power, and tortures Anton Mercer. Man, Mesogog is not playing around anymore. There's only one glaring issue for him now: power. He needs an insane amount of power in order to fire off his dinosaur-rising cannon. And what's the ultimate source of power that's been so close to his grasp the whole season? The Dino Gems. Trent emerges from the shadows and offers Mesogog a deal: the Dino Gems for Anton. Meanwhile, a powerless and confused Elsa is kidnapped by Zeltrax. The Rangers jump into action and save this woman who they've yet to recognize as their former foe. After saving Elsa from Zeltrax, the Rangers rush her back to the Dino Lab, unknowingly leading Zeltrax directly into their base of operations. While in the lab, the Rangers formulate a plan of attack based on everything that Trent learned during his infiltration, in perhaps the riskiest move of the entire show. the Rangers hand their Dino Gems over to Trent as a means of infiltration. While Trent is on his way to find a way for the Rangers to get inside, Haley unveils a new piece of technology, the Tricermax Command Center. Quite literally, the most powerful piece of Dino Thunder tech, this mobile command center comes fully armed with a missile that is designed to destroy Mesogog's fortress with a single shot. Inside Mesogog's fortress, Trent is, of course, betrayed by the evil Mesogog, but he manages to get an invisiportal open for the rest of the Rangers to teleport to the island. A massive battle ensues on the island between the Rangers in their human forms and waves of Tyranno drones. They're able to fend them off long enough for Haley to blast Mesogog's cannon, destroying it and crippling his fortress. Still inside the fortress, Trent finds his father, grabs the Dino Gems, and escapes just in the nick of time. So that's it then. Mesogog is defeated, and the world is saved, right? Kind of. There's still one loose end. Zeltrax. Well, it's final episode time with Thunderstruck Part 2. Will the Power Rangers prove victorious and rid the world of Zeltrax and Mesogog once and for all? Well, they certainly have their work cut out for them, because the episode opens with Zeltrax unleashing a horrifying attack on the city with his massive Zelzord. Inside the Zord, Zeltrax has Elsa imprisoned. While the Thundersaurus Megazord and Zelzord fight it out, Tommy sneaks inside to try and save Elsa. However, he is met with fierce resistance. Kira leaves the Megazord to assist Tommy, and Connor morphs into his Mezzodon Megazord. Tommy and Kira confront a version of Zeltrax that is more powerful than ever. After a tough battle, they eventually defeat the powered-up cyborg. But the Zelzord itself proves too powerful for even two of the Ranger Zords to overcome. To defeat the daunting Zelzord, Connor calls upon every Zord they have in their arsenal, but even that doesn't prove to be enough. The Rangers are left with no choice but to sacrifice their Zords to take down Zelzord. With a massive explosion, the Zords give all they have and Zelzord is finally defeated. But of course, this isn't the final trial for the Rangers, because in a surprise twist, Mesogog survived the explosion of his fortress. He's back and more powerful than ever. After consuming just enough power from the Dino Gems, Mesogog now has the ability to transform into the monstrous Meso Monster. This new form for Mesogog proves too powerful for everything the Rangers throw at him, including Connor's Battleizer mode. Meso Monster begins duplicating himself, and the Rangers are left with no other options. So they channel as much power as they can from their Dino Gems. This energy morphs into a golden, glowing T-Rex that destroys all four Meso Monsters at once. Having used all of the power in their Dino Gems, the Rangers demorph and are left with nothing more than artifacts. However, with Mesogog gone for good, there is no more threat to humanity, and everyone can carry on without being worried about giant mutants attacking the city. The Rangers have saved Reefside. For good this time. And with that, the world is saved, and our coverage of Power Ranger Dino Thunder has wrapped up. Let me know in the comments what show you guys want me to cover next time, Power Rangers or otherwise. Thank you so much for watching. Have an awesome day. See ya!